Freedom is not an abstract state of being. It never can be an abstract state of being. Freedom is not something that we can conceptualize. It's not something that we can think about. It's not something that we can actually meditate upon. You know, the closest you can get to experiencing what freedom is before you are established in a state of perfect freedom is simply to experience moments of silence in the mind. Moments of silence, moments of stillness, moments when what you think of as you is just not there. Eventually, this becomes our practice. Eventually on the path, a point comes where this state of inner silence, thoughtlessness, or a state where thoughts are there but we're not identified with them, this state becomes easily accessible, highly accessible to us, and that state itself and living through that state becomes our practice. But that state is not easy to get into because we have a lot of obstacles to getting into that state. So what I would say to people who are on the path, searching, seeking, even say they're practicing or whatever, if you can't get yourself into that state, what I would call a kind of spontaneously self-liberating state, where you're able to access this beautiful state of silence and peace within yourself, and you're able just to keep returning to that state throughout the day and gradually establish yourself in it, right? Gradually dissolve the mind in it. If you're not able to do that right now, there's no point thinking about freedom, thinking about enlightenment, thinking about silence, thinking about this state that I'm talking about. Right? I would recommend we first learn what bondage is, what ignorance is. Okay? Because freedom is always there as a substratum of existence, of us. Okay? Freedom is not something which is created. Right? All of what we call our life, everything that we think about, everything that we do, everything that we plan, everything that we strive towards, this is created. And not only is it created, this is something that we have to maintain every day. We have to keep it up. Freedom is not something that has to be kept up. Freedom is always there. And freedom is realized as being spontaneously there when you stop keeping up all this other stuff. So for me, on the path at the beginning, it's more effective to learn about all this stuff that we're keeping up. And some of this stuff that we're keeping up, some of these patterns that we're keeping up, are absolutely antithetical, in opposition to that state of freedom. Okay? Freedom means being unbound. But what if I bind something to myself? An object, possession, saying, I own this object. I'm bound to that object. The object is not just bound to me, I'm bound to that object. So I'm not free, finished. This person who I'm in relationship with or whatever, they're mine. They're my husband, my wife, my son, my daughter, whatever, my friend. Okay, we're bound. We've assumed a fixed position there. And I'm not saying that, let's say we enter a state of freedom, that we won't have relationships with people and we won't have things that look like our possessions. Things that, okay, I've got my phone, if no one else uses this phone, I keep it with me. You know, I don't leave it on the street for somebody else to take, right? But the difference is that if we're in a state of freedom, we won't have concrete mental ideas about these things as being ours. So, in other words, we will hold everything lightly. If a relationship comes to the end naturally, we'll let it go. If we lose possession, okay, we may do what we can to recover it, but we won't be troubled. Because even though these things are there, we are not clinging to this idea that we own these things, that these things belong to us, right? So this is just one example, ownership. Very good one to look at, right? Because ownership is, as I said, it's completely antithetical to freedom. So if you want to look at one pattern, target one pattern, see how you are binding yourself, ownership is a good one to look at. But it's many other patterns, okay? So the point is to see how we're already practicing something. The reason we're not free, the reason we're not liberated, the reason we're not enlightened, it's not because we haven't done enough of this meditation or chanting or hanging around gurus. It's because we've been practicing something else. We've been practicing something else. We've been walking a different path for a long, long, long time. And most of us, from when we wake up in the morning until we go to bed at night, and even when we're dreaming, we're practicing this. And what is this thing we're practicing? Whatever you want to call it. Ignorance, bondage, samsaric existence. This is what we're practicing. So first step on this path of freedom is to realize what we are already practicing, because we don't know that we're practicing this. This is not something that everybody knows on this path. They just say, okay, life is life. This aspect of life is just this aspect of life. And all this spiritual stuff is something else. It's going to be something different. You know, it's going to be something mystical and above life or beyond life. It's not going to be something that's intimately related to the way that I'm living every moment. Yeah, unfortunately, newsflash, it is. We're practicing non-freedom all the time. So this is the first thing that we need to see. We need to go into this, and a good way to do this is if we can find someone that talks concretely about these practices of ignorance, ownership, expectation, attachment, possessiveness, insecurity, fear, control, controlling life, manipulating, all these things. So it's good to get an education on all of these things, and then we realize, oh yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing a lot of that. And oh yeah, that's why. That's why I'm not free. I'm binding myself day in and day out. Then we have a choice. It's not just like, oh, freedom is this abstract thing and we don't know what it is. We need to go into the mountains and find some guy to tell us about it. No. Then almost by the process of elimination, we realize what freedom is. And then it's our choice. We think, oh, if I'm going to be free, I'm going to have to let go of this. I can't have this sense of ownership over this thing. I can't control this thing. That's what freedom is going to look like. Am I ready for that? So then we can actually make an honest decision about whether we want to go in that direction or not. This makes spirituality real. Because I can sit here all day, I can say, okay, freedom, the natural state, non-duality, it's non-relative, it has no beginning, it has no end. So what? What does this mean to us? It's better to go into the nitty-gritty, even though we don't like to see it, because we don't want to see these things about ourselves, and we don't want to change and whatever. For serious people, for serious seekers, this is the best place to start on the path examining how day in, day out we are practicing not being free. Then we've got a choice, then we've got something to work on. Then all of this becomes real. So that's where I'd start. And to kind of shamelessly plug my book, Avadhutam books, I really hammer on about all of these patterns in those books. It's more focused on patterns and life, these books. Avadhuta Gita, which I did before, if you want to hear about supreme reality in a little bit of an abstract state, but still a nice state, that's for that. But Avadhutam, I've focused on going into all of these micro elements of how we bind ourselves. But I'll do it anyway on upcoming videos here as well. So yeah, that's it.